What is going on, guys? This is Daniel, and there are a lot of great cutters in the NBA, guys who confuse defenders and score on easy baskets toward the rim. But my favorite cutter is Devin Harris. Harris consistently scores on two unique cuts other players don't even attempt: the stop and go cut and the chop cut. And Harris is good at normal cuts as well. And here's an example. As with the ball in the post, Harris sees his man turn his head toward the ball, so Harris shows good timing to cut back door and get the layup. But in this video, I'll be focusing on the two cuts that he does that no other player really does on a frequent basis. Let's get to it. Let's start with the stop and go cut. Harris demonstrates it here, and what it is Harris simply jogs along the sideline while the Mavericks are dribbling it up, and then once he gets to around the wing area, he quickly accelerates, changing speeds to cut back door, and here he gets a layup. It's a very strategic cut. By kind of being lackadaisical on running down the sideline, he makes his defender relax so he can blow by him when he does cut. Again, Harris uses it in semi-transition, and here it's an even more extreme stop and go. You may be thinking, well, this is just horrible defense, but keep in mind he does blow by a great defender, Marcus Smart here, and the reason it works is because Smart is facing forward, while Harris is running in the opposite direction. So the momentum is on Harris's side, and Smart has to turn and run once he sees Harris cuts, and he's not able to keep up with Harris. Here it's off of a dead ball, and Harris and Barea seem to have a really good wink-wink chemistry as Harris gets the cut. Also, notice on this play how both of the Mavs' big men are outside of the paint. That keeps the lane open for this cut to work. Moving on to the chop cut, which is a term I got from Zach Bovair's excellent YouTube channel. Here's the chop cut. So it's a pick and roll here on top, and the roll man will roll, and right afterwards, Harris will cut in behind the roll man pal and get it and score a layup. The reason it works is because Harris is on the weak side, and his defender's responsibility is to bump down on the roll man, so he loses track of Harris, who can cut right in front and curl into the lane. Harris does this pretty often, and on this play it's Quinn Cook who is defending Harris and bumps the roll man, and when he closes out, notice how he closes out to where he expects Harris to be, behind the 3-point line. So Harris is able to sort of face cut, get it, and score. Here the defense is a bit better. Stanley Johnson goes to bump the roll man, but he doesn't close out to where Harris was. He sees Harris has cut, so he looks to meet Harris at the spot. The issue, his momentum is carrying him into Harris, and he ends up fouling. The chop cut is tough to defend because most of the attention is on the ball and the pick and roll. And here, Rozier doesn't even bump the roll man, but Harris is still able to cut in front of him, leaving Rozier behind, though good help defense, and Harris misses. The timing is obviously critical on this play, and most of the time Harris makes this cut as the roll man is right there, right at the top of that arc, and this allows for good separation between the two. This time, Powell sets a quick ball screen in transition, and Harris uses the cut there. As a few of you may have noted, the Mavs actually have a couple of sets to get Harris a layup off of the chop cut. Here is one of their sets where Harris has it, and then he passes it on top to set up that high pick and roll and the chop cut. This was really interesting right here. So the Mavs set up this same set in the second half, and this time Stan Van Gundy, it may be tough to see, but he's calling it out and telling Stanley Johnson to stay close to Harris. Now the thing is, now there is no bump on the roll man, and that could free up Powell on the alley-oop. Here the Mavs don't get the alley-oop, but they do a nice job of continuing to move the ball, and they get Dirk for a 3. The other set the Mavs run to set up this cut starts with an Iverson cut by Harris, and then notice how the Mavs overload the strong side, so Cook is the only defender to bump on the roll, and Harris gets the layup. Same set, Harris goes over the top with the Iverson cut, and this time that defender doesn't bump down, which frees up Powell on the oop. On to the bonus content. And today we're going over a concept, changing sides in transition on offense to get a score in transition. And this is something very simple, but not something that gets a lot of attention or is used as frequently as you would think. So Stanley Johnson demonstrates it here. As the Mavs miss, notice how Johnson goes in a diagonal movement to the other side of the court. And the man he was guarding was Wesley Matthews. And what ends up happening is Johnson is wide open in transition as Matthews didn't change sides of the court with Johnson, and Johnson gets a layup. It can also work no matter what side the ball is on, and this is what I mean. Jamal Murray changes sides here, and he goes to the side where the ball is being brought up, and here he gets a wide open three, for example. But on this play, you see Bogdanovic changes sides and goes the opposite direction of where the ball is being brought up, and he also gets an open three. I like what Klay does here, and he does it naturally. So the Mavs shoot, and as the shot goes up, Klay goes in to help on the defensive glass. And when one of his teammates gets the rebound, Klay is now in the middle of the floor while his man is still on one side. And then Klay, probably unconsciously, goes to the opposite side of his man, and that allows him to gain a bit of separation even when his man does chase, and Klay gets the three. The effect of changing sides like this can also have a more indirect effect. So here Bogdanovic changes sides and he's able to get ahead of Will Barton. And so what Barton does is he tries to execute a switch with Gary Harris. He calls out, he'll take Oladipo while Harris will go and take Bogdanovic. This is a fine idea, but with all this communication, Oladipo is able to blow by Barton and he dishes to Sabonis. How does the defense defend this? Well, you could execute the switch, and here when Oladipo changes sides, you'll see Harris and Malik Beasley execute the switch, and it works well as there is no obvious mismatch being given up, and the communication is solid. The best way though is for the one defensive player just to hustle a bit. That's what happens here, as when Bayless changes sides, that's Andrew Wiggins who stays with Bayless nicely, and there is no advantage. And there is also no disadvantage for the offense as they can set things up. You can also change sides as the point guard while receiving the outlet pass, though this isn't nearly as effective. But this is an example of it working. The 76ers grab the defensive rebound, and McConnell changes sides, and when his man doesn't chase him, the 76ers have a 2-on-1 on one side, and they score. Like I said before, this seems like a very basic thing, but in the NBA, it's really not used that frequently, and the only player I've seen who really uses it on a regular basis is Bojan Bogdanovic, who does it a few times per game. And to clarify, it is something I would like to see on a more regular basis to cause miscommunication in transition defense. Well, there you have it guys. I hope you enjoyed the insight, and I'll see you next time.